you guys? Good. Good. We're starting a little bit late. Sorry about that. Welcome to the 100 and I don't know how many A2NewTechs. We've been doing this for about 4 years now. We started in about 2008, 2009. But how many people have never been to an A2NewTech before? I'm always amazed by that number. It's like a lot every time. But welcome. So the format of tonight, we have 3 presenters. These are startups in the local area. You're in Arbor. I think you guys know in Arbor, right? 3 startups. We usually have 5. If you'd like to present the next A2NewTech, and either you are working on a startup or something you know, send us an email, organizers@a2newtech.org. Check out the website. There's also the email address on there. So each startup gets 5 minutes to present, and then 5 minutes for Q&A. So what that means is they get up here and they talk to you, and then the next 5 minutes you get to ask them questions. So any audience member can ask a question. Looking for hard questions. What's that?
Make sure you push the button.
Oh, right. That's a good thing to point out. So there's, in front of you, somewhere in front of you, there'd be a little black box on the table. It's attached. You can't steal it. Sorry. There's a button on it, and there's a little red light when the button comes on. You can try it now if you want. Not all of you at once, though. But when you ask a question, please hold down the mic and talk into it so we can hear the question both up here and through the camera. We have some people watching us live, which is exciting, and this will also be recorded afterward, so if you want to share the video with your friends, that's cool too. All right, let's get started. So our first presenter is Tom Crawford. He's built an iPhone app called HappyHour. Welcome.
Thank you, Kyle. So, I had a problem. I wanted to find a cheap drink near me right now, and to figure that out was nearly impossible. So I decided, as all good geeks would do, is let's go look for an app or a website or something to do with that. So I did, and lo and behold, there was one. The problem with this particular app is that it's slow to load, takes minutes in some cases, has a difficult UX to use, and is kind of ugly, actually. In addition, it has a lot of extraneous features. Like if I'm looking for a cheap drink right now, I really don't care about code check. That's not really my priority in the things that I'm looking for. And then the thing I am looking for, maybe a martini, is buried under drink specials. So it's going to be mixed with all the other drink specials in there. Of course, there are websites out there. Both of these, that's a national website. The middle one is actually a local website, I believe done by some B-school students a couple years ago. The problem with those, of course, with any website is they don't work offline. So if you're not accessing the internet at that moment, it's a problem. And both of those, neither website is actually mobile enabled. And a problem with almost all of them is they're not up to date. They often work on crowdsourced data, which in itself isn't a problem until you start to look at the list when there are 4 Connor O'Neill's happy hours going on at the same time with the same stuff. That's a problem because different people, one person submitted without Irish Pub. Later down in the list they say a much longer name. So that becomes a problem. The data doesn't ever get verified. So I decided to fix that and create my own app called HappyHour Deals. And here's a couple snapshots. We'll do a demo here in a second. You may wonder, since this is the question most people ask, how we get our data. We call everybody. We pick up the phone and we call every single bar and restaurant and ask them what their happy hour is. Now you may say, well, what about Yelp? Yelp has tons of data and they do have happy hour hours, but they don't tell you what the deal is. And if later we want to do rankings of our own, we can't do that because Yelp would be in violation of their agreement. It turns out, though, it is a good place to at least look up locations, as well as the Yellow Pages and Google Maps. And interestingly enough, for Michigan, the Michigan Liquor Commission turns out to be a great source of information for where everybody who has a license. Of course, you also get a liquor store, which doesn't count in here. The websites, it turns out, are out of date, almost all of them. Very rarely do bar and restaurant owners update their websites, which is kind of sad. But it's turning out another place we can also get data is the Convention and Visitors Bureaus, who are more than willing to gather all the information and submit it for us so that we can then put it in the app and they promote their businesses. So that's starting to work very well for us as well. You may wonder how we make money. The first way we're making money is off featured listings. In Ann Arbor at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday, there are 41 happy hours within a mile. So there are options, and you are buried in the middle of the list if you're a bar owner or a restaurant owner. So wouldn't it be great if you could pop to the top? So we do that for them. Future possibilities include highly targeted marketing, including special events, 1 day, 1 hour promotions, proximity based, doing additional consulting and also licensing the data or licensing the API as well. So we're looking at those, but right now our primary method is featured listings. So for those of you who are new to A2NewTech, one of the common things that gets asked is, what's your ask? Why are you here? So here's what we want. We want downloads. So please download it right now. And in fact, for the first person who downloads it today gets a wonderful t-shirt just like this. So shout it out when you get it downloaded. If you already had it downloaded, you don't count. So for those of you who know me,
There's no signal down.
first single download.
There's no signal.
Oh, there is, yeah, certainly Wi-Fi. It's open. Put your email address in, you can jump on the Wi-Fi. mGuest. Number 2, like us and share us on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page. Number 3, tell everybody you know. This only works when more people are on it, so tell all of your friends.
Oh, you're not at the top of the list. How do I find you?
Happy Hour Deals.
Ah.
Happy Hour Deals is the name of the app. We'll be number 2 if you search. No, that's a great question. We can get to that in questions too. We need a good salesperson. That's top of our list. So if you know anybody who's looking for work, we've got active work they can do. And use it, have fun, and save some money. So let's get to the demo since that's what you probably want to see. Make sure you can all see that. Yes. All right, so it works pretty straightforward. If you want to see the happy hours for any particular day, you can look that up, or you can just say today and now, and you get the ones that are right now. By default, within a mile, I had set it to 5 earlier. So right now there are 7 happy hours this is actually set at the corner of State and Liberty right now on the simulator. So there are 7 happy hours going on right now in Ann Arbor. If you said, well, you know what, I want wine, there you go, you can search and just get the wine ones too. So that takes us to questions. This is, by the way, version 1.1, which comes out as soon as Apple approves it. It was submitted last night. Oh, thanks. So, questions?
Any questions?
Back.
I'm pretty sure I downloaded the app, so I'm the first one.
You would be the first one. Hit me up after and we'll get you a shirt.
All right.
Thank you.
How are you going to scale?
How are you going to scale? Well, it is a tough problem when we're calling each place individually, but it's not all that hard because it takes only 3 or 4 minutes once you get somebody to get each location. So I can have one person do, and we've proven this because we've got several thousand deals on here now. We can get about 100 a night, which covers, because we can only call at night too. You got to call when the bars and restaurants are open, and many of them don't open until 4 or 8. So we can do 100 or so a night, maybe a bit more, and keep it updated that way. And the featured listings more than cover the price to hire staff to do that. So high school and college interns on the phones. Other questions? Yeah.
Just updated, and it tells me you have 308 businesses, 349 locations, and 2,400 deals. So
That is correct.
that's kind of cool. I don't know if do you usually share that with your customers?
Sure, why not? I want you to know that more and more places are getting online and joining.
Okay, how much traction have you gotten with the selling the featured listings? Our
I'm
company
sorry, what?
with the
I can't repeat
featured.
the question.
Oh. How much traction have you gotten with the featured listings?
They're actually selling really well, and that's why we're confident we can bring a salesperson on and actually support that through it. So we're very, very excited with where that's going. Although honestly, if you want my true opinion, I think in the long term, the other options are going to be dramatically bigger as far as revenue. But for a short term, getting it up to people quickly, it's a great way. Savas and Babo were the first to jump on, which was great. They have now exclusivity in Ann Arbor for a few of their happy hours, so that's great. Yeah.
So I've thought about this idea before. I even went as far as going to buy nrbar.com. But my problem is that a lot of these deals don't give you any context as to what they're doing. For example, half off draft beer. Well, what does that really mean? Like half off of $10 is $5, half off of Ashley's $3 is $1.50. I can't sort by how drunk I can get.
And when you're drunk, you can't sort at all.
Especially if you consider the difference between the Southview bars and the Main Street bars in Arbor, right? The prices are pretty much dramatic. But where I came down on that issue, and it's a great question. The reality is, if I'm going to Vinology, I'm probably not going to Charlie's. Those are really two different bars and two different price ranges. I'm going there for different reasons. So from that standpoint, I'm looking for the deal at the bars that I would normally go to, so it doesn't matter as much as a absolute price, which is what you're actually suggesting. So we chose not to do absolute price because prices change too frequently. That was one of them.
Have you thought of getting taxis signed up for this so they would charge to have them appear on there?
So yes, taxis, hotels are another good one. The Convention and Visitors Bureau in town, because they deal with all the guests coming in. Anyway, anybody who needs to get in and around town, those type of people are perfect targets for this. Now, the taxis more to use this to show them where to go, where suggestions to make to take their people. But oh, did you know there's a happy hour at Charlie's right now? Yeah.
I know a lot of the other apps you built, so I think I already know the answer to this, but is there any plan to ever have this on Android?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there
I
is.
don't know the answer.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so we are looking at the Android development right now. We're pricing it out, checking the time frames, making sure it's all ready, but there will be an Android version of this. The only question is the timing.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Please.
Is it like, did you do this in like Objective-C, or did you use
This is all native code.
Okay.
Yeah, all native. Cool. Next time.
Thank you.
All right. Please download it.
So one thing I forgot to mention before is that we usually do community announcements. So these are events that the community would be interested in attending, or other announcements of that matter. So we have our first community announcement, Ed from GLEQ. He's going to talk a little bit about GLEQ.
Great.
So $280,000 in prizes. That's the number I want you to remember. $280,000. This is going to be given out June 18th at the GLEQ year-end event. You can be part of that. You can sign up to participate in the GLEQ business plan competition. The deadline for signing up for the business plan competition is March 27th, so it's coming up here pretty quickly next week. Once you can go to the website, gleq.org, get most of the information that you want. If you have any other questions, please feel free to talk to me. And I also left some bingo cards on this front desk right here, front table. That's it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Justin Adams. I run AlertWatch, which is a spin-out from the hospital. I used to be a developer, but I don't anymore. So anyway, you can kind of see this. It's not displaying really perfectly, but these are all rooms in the hospital with patients in them currently undergoing surgery. It's mostly empty. It's mostly gray because it's at night and there aren't that many surgeries at night. But so you go in and you can say, let's go see Dr. Strange. So again, you can't see it perfectly, but this is pulling in 4 sources of data from the hospital. It's pulling in the physiologic monitors, which are making everything animate. It's pulling in labs, like when the nurse runs your labs, glucose and potassium and such. It has alerts on the right side, so this person's blood pressure is dropping too much. And then it has management data, like how many fluids you're given, if you're given blood, if you have blood loss, so on and so forth. So the brain tells you how anesthetized the person is. And then the orange The orange tells you if they have risk factors, meaning if you have pre-existing conditions that the doctor should know about. So the reason this app exists is because over 200,000 people are killed every year from medical errors, another million are injured. And as much attention is paid in the environment like the OR, things are missed all the time. So we found that this helps anesthesiologists and CRNAs catch things that they wouldn't otherwise catch. We did a study at U of M. This was created by the chair of the anesthesiology department. And he worked with the developer at the hospital who joined the team. And then we hired one other developer. So the reason I'm here is because we need more developers. So we have to interface with a ton of different hospital software systems, and well, 6 of them really, and then 2 or 3 different monitoring pieces of hardware equipment for things like the EKG and pulse oximeters and stuff like that. And so that's my ask for today, is if anyone knows folks that have experience in hospitals, that would be great, or at least know how to do typical enterprise programming, as well as are pretty adept at SQL queries, so we can have them running data, so on and so forth. This is in the OR. We have a version in the ICU that's coming along, and then we're going to start working on one for the emergency department. We have $1 million in funding. We got from Angels, Spark, VRCC, and then one of the largest anesthesia billing companies. They bill for 1/3 of the country's anesthesiologists. He invested and he's on the board. So we've got a lot of momentum, a lot of good stuff going on, and so we just need more people to do stuff. That's basically it. I've been doing some of the testing and the validation work, and I need to not be doing as much of that. So that's my story.
Cool. All right, we'll go ahead and go for questions.
Yeah, that's great.
I have a question. Is this a medical device? Does it have to go through?
Yep, it's regulated primarily because it's attached to monitoring equipment. Most hospital software is not FDA approved or regulated. This is because it's a little higher risk in their eyes. So we filed our 510K, which is what you need to do for this, about a month ago. It takes 4 months on average. So we're hoping to get approval in the middle of the summer. Right now we have 3 pilots going, and we're in discussions for a couple more.
What is your end goal for the market penetration down the road?
Right, so there's 6,000 hospitals in the U.S., probably 3,000 that have ORs, more than one operating room where we want to sell to them. There's 130 training hospitals, so somewhere between those 130 and 3,000 would be our hopeful goal. This can work internationally, obviously. Europe and Australia are relatively easy to sell in. So I think my 5-year forecast has us in maybe 250 hospitals. Yeah.
So how portable is this, given that there are so many different monitoring systems and things you have to interface with?
Right, so a lot of the interface stuff is just basic, you're just pulling SQL queries. So at a new hospital, you'd have to maybe find new variable names, but it's just find the glucose variable, find this variable, that variable. And most of the monitoring equipment, there's a monitoring server, and it's a packet server, and once you figure out how to talk to 1 or 2 of those, it's not so difficult to do the next one and the next one. As far as the software itself, it runs off a web server, so you can run this in any browser. I don't know if that was sort of your question. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, close enough.
Okay, good.
Yeah, what's the collaborative landscape like? Have you talked to other hospitals to maybe work together, or is this like everybody's kind of developing their own thing?
Yes. So our founder is probably one of the most well-known anesthesiologists in the world, and then one of the other founders is a 2-time astronaut and probably one of the leading voices in patient safety. So we've really got some great folks there in terms of relationships, opening up conversations for pilots. So there's only probably 5 hospitals in the country that even can work on stuff like this, U of M being one of them, and Utah and Vanderbilt or some others. So I think the way, a lot of these folks love cool tech, a lot of anesthesiologists love cool technology, so they're willing to try it out, and then see if they can make a case that they should buy it. You know, that's as much as we need them to collaborate. I think the difficult collaborations are with the large software companies, some of whom are more cagey than others as far as sharing their data feeds.
Maybe I missed this, but what's the end user experience? Is this like sitting on a laptop in the OR? Is this administrator looking at the overall view of the whole hospital?
Right, so there's a couple different use cases. Right now, it is it has its own screen. There's an anesthesia cart. There's one with a bunch of wavy lines on it. There's the other that's the patient information that you're entering. This is a 3rd screen or a 4th at U of M. So that's the primary use case. And then for attending physicians that float between rooms, they'll use it on their iPads or iPhones, or they'll use it in their office. Down the road, this could get used in a remote. Remote monitoring is really hip right now, so down the road, this could be used remotely where you, for small hospitals that can't afford to keep high-level doctors on at night, you could have a call center where you could support the hospital remotely. Oh, that's a totally different business model. It's a lot of people in that space.
Yeah. I'm baffled that something like this, you know, this type of dashboard hasn't been brought about before. It seems fairly straightforward, and these are just the anesthesiologists that would use this. Is that right?
Primarily, I mean, some of the surgeons use it, but they're right over the patient. The anesthesiologist, their job is to sort of manage breathing, manage the heart rate, blood pressure, and they're supposed to be these sort of people focusing on safety. To your point, you can't believe it hasn't been invented.
I just don't know what they're looking at now. You know?
Yeah, so it's well, that's the thing, is that they're looking at 4 different information sources. So they're looking at the wavy lines, which they put on one screen. To find the labs, you have to dig probably 12 or 15 clicks into the medical record system. To find the management information, meaning how many fluids have been given, that's on a totally different module. And then the physiologic are each on its own thing. So there's the 4 sources, and you know, basically they're missing things all the time because there's just too many places to look. And then they turn all the alarms off because they go off all the time. So what we spend a lot of time doing is making sure that they only go off when it's really important. So this took 3 years to develop, and yeah, it's, you know.
I'm sure it's well thought out. I think for just coming and just seeing this, it's a little challenging to catch up as far as what's seen now and what the before, because you're thinking, yeah, the guy should be knowing everything that goes to surgery before he gets there. He shouldn't have to dig 12 clicks down. He should know what he's getting into before he starts to give me something, right?
So, you run into a surgery, you have 5 minutes, and the patient file is this thick. The chance that you're going to miss that they're on a blood thinner, that they have a pacemaker installed, for example. We show a pacemaker coming off the heart, it's kind of cool. It actually happens so often, and a lot of it is because there isn't one place for them to look. So it's a little disconcerting the more I work at space. But there's a lot of room for improvement, and the fact that this is what counts for true innovation is integrating everything. I think it just shows you how much opportunity there is in healthcare.
thank you.
Anyway, you can email me at justin.adams@alertwatch.com or follow up with these guys, and hopefully I hear from someone, because we got the budget and looking forward to hiring more developers.
Yeah, if you have trouble finding them, just email organizers and we'll connect you. I know you said you had to leave early, so.
Well, they're going to use my little dongle there.
Okay.
So that's what that's.
Kyle, did your intent to schedule the cardiac guy after the beer guy?
That was not my fault. That was Zach. I'm blaming it on him. So are there any other community announcements before we go to the next presenter? We want to announcement it?
You gonna just do my thing?
Either way.
All right, thanks, Kyle. Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, there's a group called A2N that meets every Wednesday at Connor O'Neill's at 11:45 to 1. And tomorrow there's a really good speaker, Charlie Wahlberg's coming out. So it's all about marketing related topics. So anyone who wants to learn about marketing, it's LA2M. Come on out. Thanks.
Every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday.
All right, here's Mark and Loco.
Hi guys, I'm Dave. And I'm Raj. And about a month ago, we were here at A2NewTech announcing that we had dropped out to work full-time on this. And in that month, it's amazing how far Market Loco has come. So pretty much, in simple terms, Craigslist for colleges. And the problem that we're solving is that whenever you go to buy something on a college campus, usually you don't have that much time to like buy that thing. Like if it's a textbook, at the beginning of the semester, I don't want to wait 2 weeks into my classes to buy the textbook. If it's a ticket for the game this weekend, I don't want to buy that ticket on Monday. So the current systems aren't really built around this like really time-sensitive buying experience.
The current people doing what we're doing right now, marketplaces, one is obviously Craigslist. Surprisingly, people in college don't actually use Craigslist because it's not local enough. Then there's Facebook groups, which is what's like the dominant player right now in peer-to-peer commerce at colleges. Say 90% of the textbooks sold and tickets sold from student to student are done through Facebook groups. And then that's like half the market, peer-to-peer, and then there's the other half, around 50%, which is people buying directly from Amazon and bookstores and stuff like that. Then there's obviously a bunch of other student-built marketplaces, which combine for about 0% market share. Here's why a lot of our competitors suck. One of the main things is that they're built off of email. College students these days don't actually use email as much as they used to. Another thing is that texting is just way faster. People respond a lot more. And when you want to do local meetups, texting is just a much smoother process for buying stuff. But another thing about our biggest competitor for peer-to-peer commerce is that for a marketplace to work, you have to have about an even ratio of buyers and sellers. They have to like even themselves out. With Facebook groups, it's really, really easy to sell stuff and really hard to buy things. So as a result, the marketplace shifts to have like way more sellers than buyers. That ratio doesn't really work out, and it just makes it like really hard to buy things.
So our solution provides a really smooth and timely experience for students. You come on to Market Loco, and rather than be based off of emails, rather than be based off of even Facebook messaging, the person just puts their number right there. And of course, this does decrease the amount of people who are posting listings on our site, but that's fine, because what we realized is that this is a really buyer-driven market, and you could have 10,000 listings like they do on some of these Facebook groups, but it's very low quality listings, and people aren't going to sort through that. So the trade-off for us has been really, really beneficial. Rather than spending 5 hours negotiating on Facebook, and then right before you transact exchanging a number, you get the person's number right away, you make the deal, and within an hour you can buy something on Market Loco. So the team?
So Raj, I had the product. Me and him both built a lot of like college-centric apps in the past. One being Notification, another one Hack My Facebook, that let you hack your friend's Facebook. Another one's Playbook, which is like a social network for your close friends.
Yeah, and I head up growth, so we do a lot of distribution, which is, go to the next slide. We do a lot of distribution actually on the forehead of our biggest competitor, because Facebook groups aren't meant to be a marketplace. It's just a normal Facebook group, that's what people are using. And Facebook doesn't really care if we change their cover photo to be, go and buy and sell your stuff on Market Loco. They don't care if we pin a post that says that. So that's been our main distribution, and we've been able to just siphon people off of these different groups. And I guess this whole idea kind of surfaced when about a year ago, Facebook implemented university-specific groups and kind of onboarded everyone who was on Facebook into a bunch of groups that were based on their university. So all of a sudden, I was automatically added to University of Michigan class of 2015, which you might as well call Tickets and Textbooks Spam Exchange. So both of these are actually from the same group. And what I would do last year is I'd go scroll down, control find, and I'd find tickets that were being sold for a game for like $50 for the big game that weekend. And I'd scroll up and I'd sell them for $100, $150, and I would make about $500 a weekend on big games doing so.
Now let's just get to the product. So this is where one of our schools that we're at is University of Florida. So for example, it's just really easy to browse through stuff. Contact the seller, text them right there. Right now there's the Ultra Music Festival, so people are selling those classes. You can filter by category. For example, let's say you want to go to textbooks. You can just pick a textbook and contact someone right there, get their phone number. And we have 10 seconds left, but we actually just shipped a mobile app to the App Store. That way we take transaction fee. There's actually $50,000 transactions to go through the site, but it's all cash. But that's the transaction fee.
Any questions?
You're exposing hundreds of users' phone numbers to any scraper that wants to do it. Why aren't you using Twilio to have some sort of third-party number where they can contact it through and anonymize their number a little bit?
So we've thought about that, and we're actually building that right now. The reason we haven't is that it costs $1 per one to anonymize a number. So we're going to make it a feature where you can pay $1 to anonymize. We've had like over 1,000 listings, and we just didn't want to pay $1,000 for.
You can't use one number and just anonymize it through that one based on the
color? Who you like? It just makes the UI complicated because then you'd get a text saying like this number texted you, reply to this number, don't reply to the number that you just got the text from. Like, it's a trade-off. We look at Craigslist listings. Half of them have phone numbers probably there anyways. So we're willing to take that trade-off.
Any other questions?
I guess you were getting there, but how are you planning to make money?
So right now, what we're doing is we actually have the first few listings are premium listings. It's people who request to go to the front, and because they're at the top, they have they get a lot more sales. So this dude who's selling glasses, he gives us 30% of sales. But what we're really planning on doing is taking 8% of transactions when people buy through the app.
Yes, actually, people have been requesting this as a feature for us to allow them to pay online because the process of going to the college students and a lot of people aren't carrying around as much cash anymore. So whenever I want to buy, $200 of textbooks, I'm going to the ATM and I'm withdrawing money and then I'm handing a lot of cash to someone. And a lot of people have been asking us to have like some type of like system for like escrow on our site where they can exchange funds that way rather than walking around with a few $100 of cash.
How are you expanding to all different universities?
Okay, so what we've done is we've tried campus rep programs, like a preliminary one. Usually those don't work out so well because it's tough to incentivize the reps because they don't have a stake in the success. But what we've actually done is these premium posters, people who have premium listings, we make them the campus reps, and as a result, they're incentivized to market the site because they're the more traffic the site gets, the more sales they make. So we just put that person in charge of marketing at their school because they know their school better than anyone, and they're just hustling it as hard as they can to market the site.
Yeah, so pretty much we actually had someone, we didn't come up with this idea on our own, someone actually requested the market for University of Florida since Ultra was coming up, and they were like, hey, can I get this like top tile to sell these diffraction glasses? And we didn't even ask them originally to do like marketing distribution for us. We just told them, yeah, we'll build you a market, and if it gets enough people on it, we'll leave it up there. And none of the campus reps that we ever tried hustle even close to as hard as this person because they're trying to sell their own glasses, and this is the best way for them to do so.
Yeah.
Why did you select transportation as the primary category rather than putting it in a subcategory of services?
So one of the markets, UMass, it's like a really common thing to charge for drives to the airport. There was just a lot of activity in there. I mean, the categories right now, we've just done them based on activity. Before we didn't have categories at all. We kind of just looked at what was done most. Transportation is just one of them that had enough activity. I mean, we killed categories 90 something like that. Yeah.
What's driving like not better than for you guys?
So whenever we first launched like an MVP, just to throw it out there, we probably had about 500 people hit the site in October. And since then, we've had about 50% month-over-month growth. I think so far in March, we have about 3,000 unique users that have hit the site. And we still have some time left to go, so we're hoping to hit about 5,000. This will be like our biggest growth.
And to put that in comparison, we had 1,800 in January and 2,100 in February. And then we've done a new push with the new site.
Yeah, so a month ago, the site didn't look anything like this, and it was still like the first site that we pushed out. And since switching to this site, our engagement's gone from about a minute per user that hits the site and doesn't bounce, and now it's about 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you talk about the architecture, what you wrote in, where you're hosting it, all that kind of stuff?
Oh, so it's actually, so we're built on something called Parse, which is like the backend as a service. That just allows us to iterate really quickly. We can add features, call features really quickly, and then the front end is just backbone.js.
Are most of the users selling like in-person cash, or is this more of an online medium?
Right now it's all in person. That's the existing flow, and that's how it's working because it's just like a little awkward to pay stuff online.
Do you have like usernames for people that are frequent sellers?
We have no usernames.
It's all done through phone numbers.
Yep. And just like one last thing, I guess our ask, we're looking at different opportunities for moving forward to this now, from accelerators to raising a seed round. So we definitely, if anyone has any advice, anyone has any leads on that they can help us with, that would be great.
Cool, that's it for our presenters. Are there any more community announcements before this is your last chance?
Ann Arbor Ruby Brigade is meeting, I think, next week. I was gonna look it up on my phone, but I don't get reception down here. It's on Tuesday, I think a week from today. Ann Arbor Ruby Brigade, you can check it out, a2rb.org if you are into that kind of thing.
Who's hiring?
Who is hiring? Raise your hand if you're hiring.
I am.
Oh, geez. Who's hiring not software people?
No.
Okay. Who's hiring software people? All right. Who's hiring not? Okay. All right, let's just go through it. Each person who's hiring, say the name of your company and just the title or the kind of person you're looking for, just in like a one sentence. Okay. Very short.
Yeah, so AlertWatch already spoke. We're hiring a kind of a low-level programmer, and then anyone who knows mobile, and then we're hiring a technical communications person, like someone to do documentation and write, who loves to write a lot. So probably no one in this room.
If you know any student entrepreneurs at other schools that would want to get in on this, we'd love to expand to their schools.
We sell physical goods.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sales, Moveable Bytes.
Liquid Web, we're looking for developers, QA, systems engineers, salespeople, tech support. We're hiring lots of
Could you
people.
grow any harder if you want?
Right now, we're trying to get into Ann Arbor.
Okay.
Convince us we should come here.
Yes. I'll find someone for you. Who else?
All right, Alpha Django. We build startups like it's our job because it is our job, and we're hiring a software developer.
Elastis hiring software engineers for online commerce.
Dan Davis with Pillar Technology. We have a shop now here in Ann Arbor off Jones at Tech Brewery there, and we're looking for everybody and everything. So, if you got any contacts and interest, come talk to me.
Genix Digital Marketing, I'm looking for a front-end web developer.
Newmine Group, we're looking for a marketer, entry-level marketer. It's your first marketing job. It's about the perfect job for you.
Anyone else?
I think
be good to go to Pizza House and have these people be able to interview people right there.
Not me, I'll buy you pizza.
He's offering free pizza that's not the stale stuff over here. All right, I have one more thing. Coffee House Coders. If you're interested in coding, want to learn, it's a very open community. People will just jump in and help you out. Bring a laptop, bring a project. Our next one is tomorrow in Ann Arbor. If you go to coffeehousecoders.org, you can find more info. Click on the Ann Arbor one and the meetup group. Thanks.
Yeah, it's Thursday.
What's that?
It's Thursday.
Not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. For some reason, I think it's tomorrow. Okay. Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, where's HappyHour? Pizza House?
Yeah, I guess if people want to go to Pizza House, let's do that. And thanks for coming, and we'll do a little bit of networking here, and then maybe in about 10-15 minutes, we'll head over to Pizza House. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
I'm gonna go get my calculator.
I feel like I'm around.
Well, a lot of times,